As someone who has worked in the agency world for over half a decade and came up as a junior producer to sales manager and now as a creative director working with various brands, I have met and seen many types of creatives and creative directors with all types of work approaches and all types of different personalities. But at the start of my career, there was a certain type of creative individual that would get on my nerves the absolute most. I'd call them the artsy creative director. Often they'd wear loud outfits, they'd change their hair color every few weeks and their nail color, which no problem with that as long as the work would happen, but unfortunately it was very, very inconsistent. It stood out to me, and it was almost like this conundrum or paradox or whatever you want to call it, that everyone around them would applaud their creativity and applaud their ceiling and how well they could perform when it mattered most. But myself, as the person who had to be the sales manager or the account manager with the client, I often had to answer for their lack of consistency or poor work overall. Sometimes it would just be too wacky of a result or something that was creative but didn't really fit the brief, and sometimes it was just they weren't there. They weren't there for the calls or for the meetings. And in one instance, I had to explain to an important client why on a specific project handoff call, our creative director was on some bus with awful audio and zero webcam, just presenting with bleeps and cuts of noise every 5-10 seconds. But those creative types, they simply do not understand the idea of optics and how important it is in business. It was this weird idea of my creativity will get me by and my image will sell me as a person who's very creative. It's almost this like persona Ponzi scheme. Nothing was given and everything was an assumption. But as the years went by and I turned to creative direction myself, I saw the giant demand brands young and old had for talented and creative directors that truly had some balls, had a vision, and wanted to sell that vision. And when I had decided to chase this career path, a critical question came up. Do all brands need creative directors? And what would it take to be a useful creative director? The answers I came up with often led me to successful projects. And in this video, I want to talk about how they can impact your brand as a founder who leads the creative, or as a creative yourself, or maybe a hire you want to make. There will be specifically 3 parts. Firstly, we will uncover 2 great brands that are very synchronized with their creative director and their founder. Secondly, we'll talk about the nuances in the day-to-day life of running a brand as a creative director. Thirdly, and most importantly, we will talk about how unseasoned creatives or creative directors are failing to run creative for some brands and failing to bring their vision to life. Here we go, back on YouTube. This is gonna be a banger. This one's gonna bang. To this day, one of the greatest small business creative directors is UVU's Addy Gillespie, and we've done a big piece on his work before. Before founding UVU, Addy served in the Royal Air Force. Afterwards, he started posting on the internet and had his first bouts of fame as his following grew. To be quite frank with you, it is tough to find a founder that is more possessive of the values of their own brand than Addy. When I say Addy's the driving force behind a small business, I don't mean small in regards to the amount they sell or their revenue. Small more so in how many lanes they choose to take part in and how limited their product selection is. It remains in one lane. It remains different, but also so straightforward and so rich in storytelling. Let's take a look at an example. There's an incredible amount of synergy in each piece, and even opposites are somehow attracting together and making one big picture come together regarding UVU. It's like twin brothers that are born years apart. They look and talk the same, but they feel entirely different, like 2 different personas. And this is all built on the shoulders of enabled and driven direction, creative direction specifically. When I say enabled, I am referring to having a giant vision that is not only pitched and sold to the team or the market, but also able to be brought to life with consistency every time by Addy specifically, and a person who's tying that in and bringing it all together. The draft must be great, but the final shot must be the greatest. Deserving to be able to bring your vision to life is what separates the clowns from the kings of creative. So let's talk about more kings in the space, and specifically Lyrical Lemonade's founder, Cole Bennett.
We've been here before. You know what this is like. Are we gonna pull it off? Of course we're gonna pull it off. Is it gonna be easy? Of course not.
Whilst building Lyrical Lemonade, Cole also became a multi-award-winning creative director, music producer, video producer, great creative partner to so many artists and musicians. Overall, he's just an inspiring figure, and he's quite young, quite talented. He's not just the executor of the plan of a large budget music video, but he's also the visionary, and often he comes up with what will be shown and how to pair the music and the visual together to tell the final story, to tell award-winning viral stories. Cole has several traits that make him a key player in the industry, but simply to put it and wrap it all together, he is just cool. That's it. He's simply just cool.
Fucking Cole, Bennett.
He vibes with any type of artist, whether pop, rap, rock, whatever. But most of all, he's just down to earth with all his fans and understanding the market, understanding the industry.
Down to be in a music video? Cole Bennett shooting me.
What's up, Cole? It's me. It's you. It's us. Speaking to you from the future.
Oh, man.
Keep on going exactly as you are.
Make it happen.
Because all those crazy dreams you have aren't all that crazy. Trust me on that one.
Vibes alone can't build a legacy as a creative, so let's single out a specific professional feature that makes Cole stand out from the rest. And from my viewpoint, it's his ability to clearly sell the vision to any party that is investing or taking partnership in bringing the final product, the final result to life. He does this transparently and honestly, and although I don't sit in the boardroom, it doesn't seem like there are any hidden or parroted words from conversations that we can look at online. Just a cool guy aiming for cool projects. So from these two gentlemen, we can learn two creative aspects that could bring our creative vision and dreams to life. Our vision remains clear and very palatable even across different pieces of work, and we can be creative, tasteful, and ambitious, but remain connected and communicative to the people that help bring our projects to life, especially the viewers, the listeners, and the fans. Let's talk about how the work looks like to make these things all possible. Before we continue with chapter 2, I do want to say there is no sponsor segment as this video is not sponsored, but I do want to take 60 seconds to talk about a product of my own. The product is very simple, and potentially as a creator, creative, or brand owner, it is something you use already. As a creative studio, we make custom Notion templates for each client project, as well as for our own YouTube team, including our designers and editors and dozens of different people. And a few months ago, we decided to make this something you can use and take part in. It's a 12-page sequence that is fully customizable from top to bottom and applied to work with every single social media platform. So if you are a brand owner, founder, or just a creative, this is something you might find interested in exploring individually or for your big creative team. Once again, this is all based on Notion templates, so very easy to use. Thank you, and let's get back to creating. It's important to recognize creativity as both an abstract and hands-on part of any creative individual's process. Although I'd love to make it as spiritual and imaginative as Rick Rubin's, I myself and probably most other creative directors do need to take some physical steps to bring the vision to life.
The audience comes last.
Isn't the whole music business built around trying to figure out what somebody likes?
Maybe for someone else it is, but it's not for me.
He was like, this song makes me feel orange. And I was like, what?
Ever had that experience where you have an idea for something and you don't do it, and then 6 months later you see that someone else has done it? It's not because they took your idea, it's that it's time for that.
This is not about a day in my life, it's not about me, but rather a summary of key things that creative individuals embark on in their journeys in every single day. And if you aren't a creative in your own brands or business, this still might be important for you to pay attention to because it can help you gauge and sort of understand how to work better with creatives or if you have the right ones in your team. Creativity does not come instantly, so when a creative individual that you might have hired isn't making an impact right away, there's no reason to rush to fire them or to let them go or to reassign their roles. Or maybe there is. So let's understand how to ask the right questions and how to understand if your process matches the grades. Documentation. My own note-taking is very private, and the several dozen journals I've started and finished in my career are not to be shared. However, That doesn't mean a certain part of my brainstorming and note-taking process isn't open to my team. All meeting ideas, all scripts, collaborative project brain dumps, they are noted in our team Notion without any exception. And what I've noticed helps the team bring the best pieces to life is when I'm honest and transparent when I think the ideas are strong, weak, or downright insane. Input. Maybe 5% of all talented creatives can eat up books, music, movies, videos, podcasts, whatever, and not share ideas that stem from them. So my biggest tell for when a creative will not succeed in their respective creative role is when for the first few weeks, there is zero idea generation from outside resources. Maybe it's books related to the role, or even music that inspires the flow of creative ideas. But when those thoughts aren't being shared, I come to quickly ask, hey, have you read or viewed anything on this topic recently? I've come across this and thought you'd like it. Usually, sharing materials and then starting conversation is a good way to break the ice with the creatives who aren't taught to share early stage ideas or philosophies. But, and this is really important, sometimes they will start to overshare and make up for lack of creative communication by flooding with weak and novel ideas that haven't had much brainpower put into them. That would be a second red flag for me. Routine and scheduling. This one's simple. If they are open to meetings at absolutely any time and have zero usage of their calendar, they are almost always a little bit too fresh for the role. It doesn't mean you need to be over corporatized or have this whole entire overly insane structure, but there has to be something in place for creative work blocks. If they don't, again, either too fresh or they will have zero consistency in creative performances and idea generation. Based on these three specific parts of the day and communication with or as a creative, you can quickly understand what must be on the so-called schedule to understand if the work will be fruitful or downright bad. But to me, in our team, in our processes, it's always the impromptu idea sharing. It's always the discussion and making sure the discussion is deeper than surface level, deeper than just sending a few links to inspirational material. Again, that's historically been a pretty good tell of when we're going to connect well on a creative wave. Now, this video isn't a lesson or some sort of critique of how to become a creative or if you're a good or bad creative, but rather it's if you'd like to become one or do you need to hire one for your business. So let's talk about a few mistakes that we have all come to make in running brands or running someone else's businesses so you can make sure not to repeat those mistakes or guide those that haven't stepped on those landmines yet. First and foremost, let's talk about a topic that we've covered a lot of times on this channel, and that is overconsumption. Creatives and founders, and I stand by this all the time, need to be consuming way more than the normal individual, or normal might be a bad word for it, but the typical individual. They need to study the competition, they need material for inspiration, and sometimes they need a spark of anger in seeing some competition to move forward with ideas that have stagnated. But in our digital Wild West world, consuming has become so easy that even the top founders are becoming, for lack of a better term, social media addicts. But the fix is easy, and I don't care if you're on your phone 15 hours a day, just try to stay on the ratio of 2 to 1, consumption being the 2, production being the 1. So if you consume for 8 hours a day, whatever that might be, hopefully you have at least 4 hours of productive creative output on that same day. Sticking to this rule has actually helped me stay consistent when mood and energy were at their absolute record lows. Next, you want to make sure that your business partners, your boss, whatever your employees, they understand the essence of true creative roles. At the end of the day, you don't always want to be the guy that says it'll come when it'll come, or implying that creativity isn't instant. So making your brand or company invite creativity is how to solve this issue. But inviting creativity is very, very hard. As someone who has worked with dozens of companies and individuals in hyper-competitive industrial companies, there are many people who are just believers they are not cut out for anything creative, and creativity is the furthest word to describe them. But that's where you succeed. That's your competitive advantage. Because you know that enabling someone else's creativity is sometimes, or maybe more important than bringing your own creative vision to life. Sometimes a great creative director isn't the one that generates that great, amazing idea, but helps the technical founder spark some certain inspiration of what will talk to the market the most. Or maybe it's helping that Wolf of Wall Street like salesperson that's just on the routine, on the phone, cold calling, emailing, whatever it may be, understand that their ability to communicate truthfully and honestly with a person is more creative, often more creative than some things that are made in the marketing or design lab. Last but not least, the thing that has changed my career the most, and this is one that's not even an evolution, it's a full-on revolution, is having some sort of creative journal, having some sort of public or not public place for creative output. Often as a creative director, my ideas get shut down, and even some of those Hall of Fame ideas are met with a not this time, maybe next time, or we don't have the budget for it this quarter. Whatever the answer is, not bringing a great idea to life can cause energy drain and just energy deficiency to bring the next one to life. Having a space where the idea does become some sort of a reality has a massive benefit, and this YouTube has served me so well as a creative journal. All these brands and creators are just people, or again, companies that inspired me and were on the mood boards for when I was doing work for clients. And after being shut down in flames a few too many times, the channel was born, and it was single-handedly my most creative decision yet. Okay, that's it. Peace. I'm out. I'm out of this bitch!